Hi,
All
Sue.
right. Hello. Who was that?
It me, Matt Doobie.
Oh, okay. Hi, Matt.
I'm just lurking in the background here, doing a
Okay,
little
I
work
didn't
on
know
the
if you
side
missed
during
before
the
we
break.
started.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
I'll mute
great.
again.
All right, everybody. That was a super cool presentation, and I'm really excited for you to hear our next presenter because I hear she's got some great tools. So, Dr. Diana Dell is the director of the Master of Educational Technology program at Missouri Baptist University in St. Louis. An instructional technologist with more than 40 years of experience in K-12 education and higher education, she is passionate about improving learning using cutting-edge, engaging technology. Her background encompasses K-12 teaching, staff development, instructional support, instructional design, educational web publishing, ed tech consulting, online teaching, and serving as a chair on dissertation committees. Do you sleep? She is interested in student engagement, course design, artificial intelligence, and instructional models for digital learners using learning management systems. So, Diana, whenever you would like to begin.
All right. I feel tired after you reading that. Okay. And you should be able to see my screen now.
You may want to go into slideshow or presenter mode.
Absolutely. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about custom AI tools that I've created and chatbots. And we're going to focus on the tools that are specifically for course alignment and development. And Sue, thank you for that introduction. I think I still have enough energy to give the presentation. But my main job is that I am the director of the Master of Educational Technology program at Missouri Baptist University. And my side gig is that I also work with the MBU Office of Online Learning, and I am an online mentor. And I specifically have been specializing in using AI for course design and development. So for those of you who know Sherry and Eric, I work with Sherry and Eric. This is the timeline for this presentation. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen a URL. And that URL is going to allow you to keep a copy of this presentation. So you can certainly access that presentation and keep it. So copy down that URL. In part one of our presentation, we're going to look at custom tools and chatbots that I have created. I'm going to give you several examples so you can see how they work. My goal is to spend about 20 minutes on that. In part two of this presentation, you are going to get a lesson on how you can create these custom tools and chatbots for yourself to use in your courses, to use with your students, to help you with your course development. And then I'm going to introduce you to the QMO community workspace. And we're going to be using a website called PlayLab. And I was lucky enough to find PlayLab. When AI came onto the scene, I got very, very excited. I love all things ed tech. And when AI came on the scene, I wanted to learn everything that I could about it. So I started listening to every webinar that came through social media, and I happened upon a webinar with the creator of the PlayLab website, and he was giving away accounts to his website. And I was lucky enough to get one of the first accounts. Since that time, you now have to request an invitation to join the website. And some of my colleagues have told me that they've waited for 3 or 4 months to be able to get the invitation. So today, I'm going to invite you, and you'll be able to join immediately. And once you join the QMO Community Workspace, you will be able to have your own workspace as well. Then the last part of our presentation today will be time to answer questions, any sharing that you have. Be happy to hear your ideas. I'd love hearing your ideas. So that's how we're going to proceed. So part one. Before we get too carried away, I'm going to reiterate some of the ideas that you heard Paula share about the importance of keeping humans in the loop. You've probably heard that phrase before, the human AI loop, keeping humans in that loop, always starting with human intelligence and ending with human intelligence. And the idea of the AI sandwich was born. And this is, I've seen this several locations. This idea and drawing representation comes from Carrie Harrison. And I have linked to her article there at the bottom of that page, that slide. So if you would like to go back and read that article, you certainly can. So when you look at the base of our AI sandwich, the idea is that before you start using the tools, that you spend some time thinking and exploring and researching the input that you're going to provide to the AI tool. We know that good input is going to give us good output. So it's important that we start there. And then the filling, the peanut butter and jelly. We want to select and use AI tools. And we want to try several iterations and use a variety of tools. So don't just stick with ChatGPT. Go over to Bard, which is now Gemini. Go to Claude. Go to Perplexity. Variety of different tools that are available. Try Magic School if you haven't ever tried Magic School. And it's also important that you try several different iterations with the same tool, because we know you'll get different outcomes each time that you use a tool. And then the lid, the top of our AI sandwich, you take that output and you optimize it. You make it your own. You apply your human creativity. You flesh out the ideas and end up with the end product. And just as a last reminder here, your professional expertise is always needed. We have to evaluate AI, the output that's generated by AI. We have to look for the accuracy, the quality. Are there any biases? Are there hallucinations in the information? And the more we use AI, the more we do see mistakes happening. And I've seen a current trend. I'm big into health and understanding what makes us healthy and nutrition. And a current theme that I have been seeing is they will plug in, what are the most common information about health, and then doctors will say, this is true, that is not true. So it's really interesting that our professional expertise in this case is extremely needed to make it all work. So we're going to jump into the tools. So why am I using and creating these tools rather than just using a generative AI like ChatGPT? Well, I find that many of our instructors are not well versed at prompt engineering at this point. We have spent some time training on prompt engineering, but we know they don't get always good results. So some of our tools will allow us to just plug in data that I specify. I've done all the prompt engineering in the background of the app, and then I'm able to keep reliable, effective results available for our instructors. So this first one is the course objectives generator. And you're going to plug in some information and it's going to generate some objectives for you. So this is what the second screen looks like after you press start. You can see you're going to enter the course title, the course description, the level of the students, the length of the course, the topics of the modules. Now, if there's information that you don't have, depending on what stage of course development that you are in, you can enter none. Now, obviously you enter none, you're not going to get as high quality results, but it will give you a place to start. So let's take a look at how this tool works. You can see for all of the examples today, I'm going to be using a course that I just developed on artificial intelligence for K-12 teachers. So I copied and pasted the title, the course description. This is for graduate level. Course is 8 weeks long. And I've already generated some module topics. And you can see, first it gives me all of the information, and then it generates those course objectives. So that's the way this particular tool works. Now let's take a look at that output. And this is just an excerpt of the output. And you can see that it has given me, it's actually given me 6 objectives. They didn't all fit on the screen, so I'm giving you just an excerpt. And you can see they're very well formed course objectives. Pay close attention to number 4. Teach. By the end of the course, learners will be able to teach students the fundamentals of using AI responsibly and effectively in an educational context. We're going to come back to that when I show you the next tool. The next tool is the course objectives critiquing tool. So if you've ever wanted a knowledgeable peer to give you feedback about your course objectives, this will do that for you. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to put in your course objectives. Again, number them, put them in whatever specified format that I've given this. And you can see, here's another excerpt from that, what that tool generated. And it's going to critique those objectives for me and offer suggestions. So it tells me it could be potentially refined. The word teaching can be subjective. And it gives me a revised objective. And then it explains what the revised objective does. What's the purpose of that? Now, as I was building these tools, I purposely used the language that QM uses in their rubric and in their workbook. So you're going to notice some of the same language that we're all familiar with QM. Here's one that is the modular objectives to course objectives generator. And you're saying, isn't that backwards? Wouldn't I start with course objectives and go to module objectives? In a perfect world, yes, but we all know that we don't live in a perfect world. Perhaps you've inherited a course that you're now responsible for, and the module objectives are pretty strong and good. You're happy with those, but they don't align well with the course objectives. So this can sort of reverse engineer that. So here you're going to give it all of your module objectives. And it is indeed going to give you the course objectives that align well with that. And notice that I ask it to map it. So your mapping is already done. You've got the course objective mapped to your existing module objectives. Think about how much time that is going to save you. Tremendous amount of time. Then this is the module objectives generator. So for this, you can see we're going to use the course objectives. We're going to use the module topics, and it is going to generate those objectives for us. Let's look at that. And you're going to see again, it's going to break it down by module. Here are all the module 1 objectives. They've all been mapped to the correct course objective. So this is going to give you a great place to start when you're looking at writing those module objectives. Does this fit your course? Is this going to work? How can you modify it? And this is the module objective evaluator. So what this tool does is going to identify Bloom's taxonomy for each of your objectives, and it's going to explain why the objective falls into that level. It's going to make suggestions to ensure that the objectives are all very much clearly stated. They're very specific, they're observable, they're measurable, and they're learner-centered. So let's take a look at some of those results. It's going to ask you to enter those objectives. And then you're going to see, here's the original objective. I can look to see this objective has students working at the create level. And it's going to give me a suggestion for how I might possibly improve that objective. So Bloom's taxonomy, of course, I put that in there because sometimes we see courses that every objective is at a lower level of Bloom's, or every objective is at the higher level of Bloom's. And just to help you evaluate, is this the particular level that my students in this course need to be working at? Okay. I'm just looking at some of the chat. Okay.
I told y'all she had some really cool tools.
I'm not good at reading and presenting at the same time, so I'll stop reading. Okay, this is an example. Everything that I've shown you so far is a tool. So you have specific data that you're entering into the tool. And this is indeed just a chatbot, so it's an ongoing conversation. So this particular chatbot is going to help you identify common misconceptions. It's going to provide effective explanations. It's going to give you examples, analogies, all of those things that you would like to include when you're writing a very engaging lesson for your course. So let's see how this works. So we're going to press start. Our assistant starts talking to us. We say hello because we're ready. We get some information. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to say, I'm working at the graduate level. Do you have a specific topic that you're aiming to explain? So I'm going to say, I want to explain AI's role in assisting diverse learners. So polite, always polite. Now she's asking me for my specific objective. Starts with the misconceptions. We progress to the explanation. She gives us examples, gives us an analogy, and then asks us if we would like to add any other information so we can continue that conversation. So that's the difference between the tool and the chatbot. So I think that you can appreciate that difference. So you're going to be able to create both of these. If you want to see the whole conversation with the chatbot, you can click here. I've copied and pasted that whole chat into the screen for you. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and you're going to learn how to use PlayLab. Little story, about a week ago, I've been in presentation mode the last couple of weeks, and about a week ago, I was went into PlayLab because Sherry and Eric were going to do a presentation at our school, sharing some of the tools that I had created. I went in and discovered that the entire interface had changed. Well, I already had this presentation ready to go, so I had to totally redo the presentation. So you are seeing the latest version of how the PlayLab interface is going to work. I will say I do like the changes once I got used to them. Eric and Sherry will tell you that I had a slight panic attack when I realized that this was a problem, but it all works now. So crisis averted. So this is the website, playlab.ai. That's the URL. Don't go there yet. Hang tight. And when we get to the next part, I'm going to have you join the QMO group. And this is what it's going to look like. So whenever you're ready to start creating your own tools, you'll simply click that new app button. And here you'll see you're going to fill in some information, give it the app name, the app description. Don't worry about what you name it at this point. You can come back to this and change it later. That won't be a problem. So once you create the app, I named my fabulous app. And you can see on the right side of the screen, this is where you're going to enter the instructions for how the tool is going to work. So if you want to think of the right side of the screen is sort of like the prompt that you're going to be engineering that's going to be working in the background. Okay, so that's that side of the screen. By the way, you're not going to have to use this format if you don't want to use that format. We'll talk more about that later. Then on the left side of the screen, that's where you're going to be testing how the app functions. And you're going to use this quite a bit before you actually publish your app for the general public to use, or just your colleagues to use. There's different publishing options. And then you're going to see all of these tools across the top. And you see Chatbot. Notice that that's a link. And if you want to make a tool instead of a chatbot, you simply click that and select tool. You are then able to select the model that you're going to be using. It gives you a variety of different models to choose from. I tend to leave it on ChatGPT-4 Turbo. I get good results with that, but you can experiment with different models that are available for you. Again, click the link to select the model that you want to use. And obviously different models are going to give you different results. So play around with that. And then it asks for the variability. And I have researched what variability means in this context. And I do not know enough to explain it well to you. So I am just going to tell you that 70% of variability is where I leave it set, and it seems to work well. If anyone else knows what variability means, and you can explain it to us in just a few words in this context, would you please put that in the chat? I would love to have a better understanding of what that means. Okay, so next we're going to click that little gear. And the gear opens some of the settings. So, you know, the information that you put at the beginning, here's where you're going to name it, the description. You can put in a message. And then we have what are called starter inputs. So if your app needs input from the user before they start to use it, you can put in that information if there's some data that you want them to include. Maybe you want them to enter their name. Maybe you want them to enter a learning objective. Whatever the field is, you can put it there. These fields in the starter inputs are going to appear on the welcome screen. That's a new feature, okay? Now, this screen is going to look different. This is the screen for chatbots. It's going to look different when you're building a tool, okay? So here's what it looks like when you are building a tool. You notice all that same information is still there, but you now have tool inputs. So on the tools that you saw, all of the data fields at the bottom where I ask you to enter certain information, this is where you create your data inputs. Now, I will say, first you look at this and you go like, you don't have to hit enter here. You know, I didn't have to enter when I put in the name, but when you're entering starter inputs or tool inputs, you do have to hit enter, and it will then pop it up. And you can see I've done that for the first input and the second input. Then we get to how to make it public or to share it with other people. And they've streamlined this a lot. And I do like this feature. There's a big share button, just like there is in Google. Click share, right? And you can see it can either be not shared. That means I'm still working on it, so I'm not going to share it with anybody. I can share it to my team. I can share it so that anybody on PlayLab can view it, or I can make it public. That's what I've done with all of the apps and tools that I've created. I've made them public so that we can all use them. You're going to notice at the top, after you make it public for the first time, it's going to tell you, you know, you shared it. When was the last time you shared it? I did that just now. And anytime that you make changes to your apps and tools, and believe me, you will be making changes as you use them and you get more ideas, you can come back and you can make those changes. You will have to click the update right here to do the updates. So make sure you click that, and then it will go live to everyone else. And then using that 3-dot menu, if you ever need to archive your app, that's where you would do it. There's also a section where you can add documents to the library. Each app has its own library, and you can add documents to give your app extra information. For example, I created an app so that students could practice for the Missouri Content Standard assessments. And I needed to know the code for each of the different quizzes and tests that they had to take. So that would be something that I would put in the library so that the app could draw from that. So this is the suggested format that PlayLab gives you. This is something that they came out with just with the latest interface update. I don't use this. It wasn't there when I started building apps, so I just did my own thing. One thing that PlayLab hasn't done well is there's no tutorial to explain any of these things. So I do hope that they eventually get to that point. So I've had to go in and just through trial and error, try all of these things, which is fine because I love to do that. But a tutorial, a video to watch would be very helpful. But this format is pretty good. We're giving them the background information. You are an expert in, your role is, you're talking to a teacher or an educator. What do I want them to do? This is your first step. This is your second step. What rules do I have? Want them to be kind. And incidentally, I'm always kind to AI because they'll remember that I was one of the nice ones when they take over, right? We want them to remember that. So this format works, but I've come up with my own best practices and to help you. And you're going to hear Paula, some of the things in Paula's presentation are going to be iterated here. You definitely want to mimic your thought process. So think through, if I were doing this on my own, how would I go about accomplishing this particular task? And use that to communicate with Chat GPT or whatever it's the model that you've selected for your app. You want to wrap your prompt data with markers. Okay, so you can do dashes, you can do hashes. It just helps with the clarity of your prompt. These are just prompt engineering tips. You want to split your prompts for complex tasks into different steps. Make it very clear. First, I want you to do this. Next, I want you to do this. You want to end your prompt with examples that include the desired format. Very, very important. If you give it examples and show it the format, it's going to follow that format and what it gives to you. So when you saw in my tools, the format started with the course objective, it mapped it to the module objectives. I put all of that in the examples. Okay. Experiment and iterate to get your best outcomes. There was not a time that I went in and said, oh, I've got this great idea. I'm going to type in my instructions and bam, it works exactly the way I want it to work. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way for me anyway. You need to experiment and you need to iterate to get the best outcomes. You also want to keep in mind the tone and the style of your prompt because it will imitate your tone and style in the output. You can, of course, also recommend a tone and style that the model uses to deliver the output. My advice is to make it work first, then go back to it and make it better. Okay, make it work, use it, think about it, optimize it later. And you can go back in at any time to make those changes. And most importantly, you need to remember that as we are using these AI models, they are evolving. So they're changing, and we might need to go back in to revise at any point. Okay, now,
Can I interrupt you for just a second with a couple of questions?
absolutely.
Okay. Was scanning through the chat and somebody asked, did you mention how long it took you to set up these tools and how easy it was to do? So you've kind of shown us how easy or maybe a little more challenging it was. How long did it take you to kind of master this?
Now remember that I taught myself this from scratch. There wasn't a tutorial.
Yeah.
But I would say I had my first tool created out of the box in about an hour, hour and a half. Have I modified and changed that tool? Yes, I have. But if you have a clear picture of what it is that you want to create and you understand how the interface works, you can easily create these tools in an hour to an hour and a half, and then they can be used again and again and again and shared with our faculty and staff, and they can use them again and again and again. So, when I think about the amount of time that I put into each tool and the time that that tool will save faculty and myself, it's a pretty good return on investment. Next question.
Okay. The next one. Somebody asked how to access it, and I think you're going to share that at the end. You're going to send them an invitation, correct?
We are coming to that right now. Yes.
Okay. Two more then.
Okay.
Do your instructors use these tools? A team of designers? You yourself? It sounds like you're sharing them with everyone, but
I am sharing them with everyone, and we're sharing them with everyone at our university as well, not just the designers, because I think that they're, not all of our course instructors have a background in education. They come from the business world, our health sciences, our some other part where they don't know about learning objectives, and they don't know about alignment and those sorts of things. And these tools can be used by those instructors just as effectively as they are used by other instructors. So my approach has been to share them far and wide.
okay. And the last question, aren't students going to be able to do any assessments that are the ultimate outcome of all this? Just as easily as we are able to create this type of tool to create them. So for instance, let's say you've got an education class where the students are supposed to create learning objectives. Would they be able to use this, and then are we in some way maybe allowing them to cheat? I think that might be where that person's going. I'm not sure.
I think it gets back to what are the guidelines, and I'll be sharing tools that I've created that help you create assignments that you want to be AI resistant, and also tools that you want to be AI enhanced. So do I think that my students, my undergrad students that I also work with, who are just learning about how to create learning objectives, should they know how to use these tools? Absolutely. Am I going to teach them the qualities of a good learning objective? Yes, I am. So I don't think it's an either or. I think we give them both tools because you know, we have to get past the, oh, this is cheating. You know, I don't think it's cheating as all. I think it's enhancing what I do. Now, if an instructor Or if a student says, okay, I have to write an essay about the importance of learning objectives in designing a lesson, and they go to AI and say, write an essay about blah, 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 it spits that out and they turn that in. Is that cheating? Yes. So I think that we need to be teaching our students about the AI sandwich. Another thing that you can do is ask your students, generate content from AI and ask your students to evaluate it. What's good about it? What's not good about it? You're going to see delve and nuances and plethora
Yes.
and a lot of the same terms over and over and over again. And if we expose students to this, they're going to start to see those patterns that we see as well. And we hopefully get them to the point where they do indeed understand AI. Working with AI is all about that sandwich. Human in the loop is what makes it all work. I hope I've answered her question.
If not, we can go back at that at the end. So we're caught up. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to join the workspace. So I love this quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes. Many ideas grow better when transplanted into another mind than the one where they sprang up. So with this presentation, I do hope that I have transplanted some of my ideas about how to use this tool into your mind. And I'm excited to see what we can create together. So this is how you will join the group. You're going to go to this URL, playlab.ai, join QMO group, WIOQNZ. You can take a look at the screen. And once you get there, it's going to ask you to create your account. Once you create your account, it's going to say, do you need an invitation code? You should see this information is already in place where it asks for that invitation code. So in essence, this is your invitation code. And once you create it, you're going to see our shared workspace. They're going to see that new app button. We click there and we can begin. Once you have also, once you've created your account and you're in our workspace, you can go up to the left-hand corner and you're going to see this. You can see this is my screen. It lists all of your teams in a drop-down menu. And this is the workshop that I was first introduced to this tool with. I then got a team. Then I created this group, and I have created another shared workspace for people who have asked to join, but they're not really a part of my other groups. But you'll see at the bottom, there is a space that says create your own workspace, and that's where you will do that. And then you can invite people to join you. Now, if you, as you're joining and you're in, if you would give us a thumbs up in the chat, or so that we know that this is working. And while you are doing that, I'm gonna look at this information. We're getting thumbs up. Yay, yay, yay. So thank you for whoever dropped the link in the chat. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Nice comment there. Lots of MBU folks here. Great to see you all. So it looks like it's working. Now, my vision for this is that anything that pertains to developing courses using the QM rubric, that we build that together in the QMO group. We can make them public. I'm going to share everything to make that the tools that I create, well, not all of the tools, but the tools that pertain to course development, because I use a lot of these tools in my courses as well. For example, if in the process of completing an assignment, if a student wants feedback, I develop these apps and I put the rubric in place, and then they can input their information and it will give them some feedback. So anything that pertains to course development, I would love to see go into this group. And just exciting how much we might be able to create together. You'll notice there is a link that says remix. So once you're in a group, you can take anyone else's work and click the remix button. It will copy what they've done and you can build on what they've done. It won't alter their original version, but you can take what they've done and build on it. So that's all very, very exciting, I think. Okay. Here is a master list of the tools that I have developed and created for course development. Okay. So I'm going to hop over to that list. Can you see my list, Sue, or do I need to change to a different one?
Yep, we
Okay.
can see it.
Okay, so you're going to see that there's, I'm sharing here about 3, almost 4 pages of tools that pertain to course development in some way. Please try these out. Give me your feedback. Give me your ideas for making them better. I would love to hear from you. And, here's my email address. Share this far and wide. Let's make our courses be the very best that they can be by using these tools and the new tools that we're going to be creating. I can't wait to see what this group comes up with. Okay. So with that, what questions, and I don't know where we're at on time. We're not doing too terribly bad on time.
No, we're doing great on time.
Okay.
Can you
So
pop that link back and I can post it in the chat?
absolutely. It's a long one. I should have shortened that one. But if you have access to the presentation, you can just click on that link.
Yes. All right, somebody was on it.
Okay, so questions, if you would like to share anything that you've done, share any ideas that you have, any questions that you have. Let me check the chat to see if I have questions. What was the passcode? Not sure what you mean. Yes, the link is the passcode. And I only know about Chat GPT and now PlayLab. What others are there? Bard, which is now Gemini, is a great one, and that's with that's Google's response to Chat GPT, and it integrates with all the Google tools, so it's a very good one. There's also Bing Chat, and with Bing Chat, you have to use the Edge browser. It works quite well, although it does work great. Microsoft has Copilot. Anthropic has Claude, which is another one. Perplexity is another great one. Those are all really, really good. And there are Magic School is one that I mentioned. Magic School also has developed some of these tools very similar to some of the things that I have developed. They are for our college level, but you'll see some things that are very much geared to elementary education and high school education as well. AI for Education has a prompt library that is very helpful. And an interesting one that I have been playing with is Mizzou. I was pronouncing it Mizzou because I have a granddaughter at Mizzou and I have a degree from Mizzou, but it's Mizzou. It's Mizoui, I believe, Mizzou. And really has some interesting ways that you can create assessments. For example, I mentioned that I'm developing an AI course for educators. So instead of our first lesson being about all the vocabulary that they need to know, all of the background information that they need to know, once they've read their articles and those sorts of things, am I going to give them a quiz over that information? No, how boring would that be? Instead, Mizzou has allowed me to create a committee, and the teacher is going to be a part of that committee, and people are going to come in and present their AI issues, and then they have to be judged as, are these ethical issues? Is this a sound use of this tool? So very interesting ways to develop assessments with that tool. So if anybody else has any other great tools, go ahead and share them. So one question is, can you show us how to access all of the chatbots and tools you've already created? That's all on that list that I shared. Everything is there. I'm just gonna, it will let me go into PlayLab. And you can see here are all of the different tools that I've created. There's a lot. Okay. And if you are from MOBAP and you want to join my team, I would be happy to let you join my team. You can see.
How do they get to that screen?
You can't get to that screen because I haven't shared that you have to be invited to this screen. Okay, but you can see here, here's that workshop that I went into, and you can see all of these different tools that have been created all over the world. And here's our group. Let's see if anybody's, oh, look, we're starting to get apps.
And competition.
Yes. Hey, competition can sometimes be a great thing. But if you have other people that you want to invite and you lose track of that link, you just go over to click the members tab, and we can see all the people who have joined us already. Look at this. Oh, I'm so excited. And you can just copy that invite and share that with others. But yes, if you want to join my team where I have done, see, I didn't know I was doing this workshop when I created my original team. I might have done it differently. But for me to move all of my apps over to the QM team, I would have to remake all of my apps on the QM group, which would be a tremendous amount of work. Okay. Let's see, any other questions here? Do we have unlimited space to create? Yes, so far they haven't shut me down, which is, and you can see all that I have created. And this is a nonprofit, so there's no charge for this, which is just absolutely amazing. At
If
this,
someone, okay,
yeah,
if someone pulls up one of your apps and then remixes them, is that how they could keep them?
yes. Do you see the remix when you click on my apps? I don't know. Do you have access to remix if you are a PlayLab member? I'm hoping that you could do that. I mean, I see the remix, but it's my app, so I don't know if you're not on my team, if you will be able to see that.
It wasn't me that, there was somebody that posted that. Let me think. Hope Taylor.
Okay.
Somebody says, yes, I clicked from your Google form,
Yay.
thumbs up, and they have the remix. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
How do we see the other apps? I only have mine and Qmo group.
You would have to be invited to those teams. That's how you see those.
So if they want to be invited, they need to send you a,
Send me an email. And I will give that invite link to you. Any other questions? So someone says, so am I on your team now? If you went in through the QMO group, you are on the QMO group team. Okay. Someone still said, how do we get an invite? Go back and click on that link. And that is your invitation.
have you found it helpful to get the paid versions?
I haven't tried the paid version. Everything I've done is free. And it's pretty spiffy. Any other questions?
Somebody asked, is PlayLab a nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay.
There is an FAQ at the bottom of the main page that answers some very basic questions, but they really, really need a tutorial. I would love for them to have a tutorial. Thank you, Jessica. Happy to do this. I could talk about AI tools all day. I am completely and totally enthralled with them and the work that they can do for us and save us time and energy and make us better. Diana's PlayLab tutorials on YouTube. I should do that. I'll do
I
that
would
in my,
definitely
I will do
follow
that in
that.
my spare time. In my spare time, I will do that.
You're already not sleeping, but I would so follow that channel. All right. Well, I think we're kind of winding down. I'm going to stop the recording.